proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
Clayton M. Peterson, author of the book A Million to One and Lived, had his book signing on Sunday, April the 29th at the Hubble House in Montesano, Washington. It is interesting to note here that the book signing took place exactly 44 years ago to the day that Clayton was injured with 38 major wounds. On Tuesday, May the 1st, Clayton had a talk show host interview regarding his book, A Million to One and Lived.
You talk about making the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Listen in. You've heard Dr. Baldwin talk about this case before. This is the man he was talking about. Clayton Peterson, welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you on, sir.
Pleasure to be on.
How's things going, Clayton?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Cloudy and rainy here, as always, in Washington State. I'd gone through airborne in 1968 airborne training in the Army. I spent a year in the Green Berets and as a combat engineer, and then I had a disagreement with them, so I got out of the Green Berets, and that's when I went to Vietnam. And in Vietnam, I was assigned to the Army's 9th Division Riverine Force, Mobile Riverine Force. And that was in April of 1969. It was about, like
Clayton,
5 months after.
Clayton, let me interrupt you just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what Wolverine Force means.
Oh, Riverine Force is it's a combination Navy-Army unit. I think what happened was they ran out of Marines, and so they just took a bunch of Army units and put them on landing craft and on Navy ships. Because I tried to join the Navy, and because I come from a Navy family, and the Navy list was too long, and I got my second draft notice, so I went in the Army. And then when I get to Vietnam, I end up on a Navy ship, LST, and it was like LST, but it was LST ship that was converted to hold troops, and then we went on a modified landing craft. Have you ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, where the landing craft come up on the beaches and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of landing craft we had, except ours had, they put a 20-millimeter cannon on it, an extra 250s, and then on the sides we had 2 to 6 30-caliber machine guns, and then you put bar armor on it. And about every fifth one had a helipad on top, which is the one I was on, VIET helipad. It was called the Navy's, Navy called it the smallest aircraft carrier in the world, because you could land one helicopter on it. That was it. So we did basically the job of Marines.
Yeah. That's. I've always wanted to. I've never asked anybody what Wolverine was, and now I know, and so does my audience. Thank you for that. Now, Clayton, you were in combat, obviously, and at some point, well, first of all, how old were you?
I was 21.
21 years old, and you ended up in the Delta. Is that where you were, in the Delta area when you got hurt?
Yep, the Mekong Delta. Yep.
Yeah, the Delta area, Mekong Delta. And when you, I don't know what your gut level was at the time you were over there, but did you ever dream that you were going to get shot or blown up or killed or anywhere come close to that when you went over?
Well, when I was in the Special Forces, I had the Green Berets. I actually had 2 dreams about being killed in Vietnam, or being killed, being blown up. And so when I just thought, they're just dreams. And I wrote poems about them, actually, and they're in my book. But then I pushed them aside because I got married and stuff like that happened, and you just kind of forget those things. But I did expect to get wounded, because I knew that you're in combat and you're light weapons and you're carrying an M16 and a grenade launcher or whatever. You're in combat, you get a good chance of getting wounded. So I figured I'd get wounded.
Yes.
Just didn't figure I'd get killed. I was wounded in my killed basically in my 3rd firefight. Well, in my first firefight, the guy in front of me had his arm blown off. So right off the bat, I knew I was going to probably get wounded. liquid. So if I was getting killed, you know, you don't really think you're going to die. You really don't think it's going to be somebody else, you know. It's kind of a mindset I think people have. It's going to be somebody else that gets killed. And something happens, boy. Kind of leaves you speechless.
Clayton, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, we had an audio drop again. I'm sorry. Our equipment's driving us crazy tonight, and I just left all of a sudden. I didn't hear you. So
no problem.
You're with the guy, and he gets his arm blown off. And what happened next?
Well, he got his arm blown off right in front of me. He was like 10, 12 feet away, and the sergeant walks up to me and hands me this guy's arm and says, "Here, take the ring and watch off and give him to the captain." I says, "What do I do with his arm?" And he says, "Throw it in that burning hut over there, the burning hooch." So I did, you know, and pretty soon you snap into a mindset of survival and combat. You kind of stand off it a little bit, you know, and so you don't expect it's going to happen to you. Baptism by fire, whatever you care to call it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, did the enemy, because of you had grenade launchers and what have you, carried that kind of equipment? Do you think the enemy ever singled you out as a target because you were carrying certain armament?
When I was ambushed, my third ambush, I was actually in the middle of a small field, and the point man was stepping into the jungle on the other side, and the sergeant was stepping into the field behind me. So that was the maximum number of guys in the open. But I was carrying a grenade launcher, and the guy that shot me, that's what he was carrying, the North Vietnamese officer. I know he's an officer because he had a pistol, and he was wearing a khaki uniform. He wasn't a Viet Cong. And because the Tet Offensive was a great victory. We wiped out, I think, 90%. We killed 90% of the Viet Cong here in Tet. And that was one of the biggest victories in combat, military history. Well, I came to twice. I actually was pronounced dead twice. First time I was wrapped in a poncho on the battlefield. And we carried ponchos with us to protect us from the rain and that. But if you got killed in combat, they'd wrap you up in it as your shroud. And they called it a body bag, but it was really your poncho. And then the second time I was pronounced dead, I was in a body bag in the hospital where I think Dr. Baldwin's wife was a nurse, and she came in the hall, and I just woke up, and the chaplain had been giving me the last rites. And I woke up and said, "Hey, I'm alive," you know. And they yanked me out of that, put me in the operating room. Dr. Baldwin and the rest of those guys, they're great surgeons, top notch.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the first time when I was pronounced dead, I was wrapped up in a poncho and stacked with dead bodies. The medic that pronounced me dead was my best friend. He'd been in the special forces. Yeah. So
when you got shot up, I listened to Dr. Baldwin describe your wounds, which were just I can't believe you survived. And now tell us what you remember about actually getting hit.
Well, I heard something click or do something off to the right, so I was starting to turn to the right. I was carrying my grenade launcher, and then a command-detonated mine went off, and that wounded all three of us, and knocked the white man and the sergeant out, and I was unconscious for a short while. And I got up, and I was. It's like being underwater and hear a humming noise because you're part deaf from concussion, and things was in slow motion, you know, and I wasn't feeling no pain. That was the good thing, because both my legs were broken, and my arm was broken, and my ribs were broken. But I still had my weapon with me, and I could see the guy in the ditch that had the grenade launcher, this North Vietnamese officer. So I wasn't being brave or nothing. I was just doing reflex, what I was trained to do, you know. Nothing being brave about it at all. And so I got on my knees because I couldn't stand up, and I swung my grenade launcher around, and then a machine gun opened fire on the left, and they found out I spit half the bullet out later. It's a 24th medevac, so they said it was a 45 caliber, either a Thompson or a grease gun. And the bullet got me in the jaw and split in half, and the other half of the bullet came out the other side of my face. And that's what Dr. Baldwin and Dr. Breeth were talking about, that it cut my carotid artery completely. And then that alone, I had a brain surgeon tell me, you bleed out in 5 minutes for that. It's almost impossible to stop it because it's so deep of a wound. And then after I was laying there unconscious, someone shot me 8 times with an AK-47 to make sure I was dead. And then another grenade from a grenade launcher hit behind me. So I ended up with 38 major wounds.
That's a miracle, Clayton. I mean, I'm sitting here just in awe of what you're saying, and I mean, God had His hand on you, buddy. You know. I sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, what happened, you know, and
And I think was it a dream or a movie? It happened to somebody else. And then I'll go to the mirror and I'll look, and there's a scar on my face where the bullet went in and the bullet came out. And I'll pull my pant leg up and see the scars on my leg. I mean, my left leg looks like, I tell the kids that an alligator bit me, you know. But yeah, it looks like a shark or an alligator got a hold of it. And then I realized, you know, it's real. It was true. It did happen.
Yeah. Let me go back to Clayton. Clayton,
yeah.
So you get to the point where they pull you out of the bag, and did they knock you out at that point, or were you still kind of conscious as to what they were doing, or you remember?
When I came, I was actually had a life after death experience. I mean, I was, you know, they pronounced me dead, and I actually seen the other side, and it's in the book. But when the medic was putting bandages all over me and cutting the rags off me, and, you know, my dog tags and my watch and glasses were all blowed right clean off me, and my clothes were shredded. Well, the captain comes running up with the radio man, and the captain says, "How is he?" You know, and he turns to the captain and he says, "I thought he was dead. His eyes were fixed. He wasn't bleeding, no heartbeat, no respiration." He says, "I thought he was dead." And the captain says, "Yeah, but how long's he got? I got a chopper coming in. It's circling." And he says, "He's got 5 minutes. He'll last 5 minutes." Well, I'm listening to this, and I'm not feeling no pain, but I sat up and said, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm not going to," you know, because I knew I was coming back to death. I was not going to stay dead. But I spit teeth out and blood, and they probably thought I was having a death seizure. And they pushed me back down, and I got some morphine somewhere along the line and blacked out. But, yeah, they thought, I'm pretty sure the medic doesn't think I made it. I was so severely injured.
Yeah, it's okay. Clayton, you have a man on the line here that is also a hero, and he happens to be the surgeon that worked on you, and I think he's calling from Hawaii. His name is Dr. George Levinson, and let's welcome Dr. Levinson to the program right now. Doctor, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm just fine. Thank you very much for the welcome.
Doctor, when you first saw Clayton and got involved with him, what went through your mind when you saw the amount of damage?
Well, I tell you what, I'll have to be honest with you. I think I was one of the two surgeons that was mainly taking care of Clayton. And a good friend of mine who was also a surgeon there, John Baldwin, we called him Hawkeye, phoned me up earlier and told me about the program and that Clayton had made it. And I'll be honest with you, we had so many casualties that year that I don't specifically remember the details regarding Clayton Peterson, but I'm so glad he's okay, and delighted to be with you, and want to wish him all the well, too.
Why don't you say a few words to him?
I just wish to thank you for saving my life, because I tell you, I've got 6 kids that wouldn't be here, and I got 10 grandkids that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for efforts of you and Dr. Baldwin and the other ones. You guys, you gave the gift of life that's going on for generations.